No, we're going to see.
I'm going to certainly help. Can I practice and give it this?
I got this right here, is that what you were?
That is from Zot. These are from me. This is two caregiver ordinances that I pulled that are quite good. One is from Warren.
Okay, the time now is 7 o'clock. Please be seated. We're calling our meeting to order. Please rise and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Madam Deputy Clerk, may I have a roll call vote, please? Read the roll call, please.
Mike.
Yes.
Jen. Here. Kurt.
Here.
Here.
Zach.
Here.
Walker and you said are absent. At this time, I'd like to suspend our public hearing. Public meeting, we're going to have a public hearing. The purpose of the public hearing is to review the proposed budget for 2022-23 fiscal year township budget. The property tax millage rate proposed to be levied to support the proposed budget will be a subject of this hearing. So in the last year, we have some events that occurred. Obviously, 2021, 2022, COVID is still here. We're dealing with that, and everybody knows, the repercussions that we've all faced and all the challenges that we face with COVID. For 2022, we have 2 elections that are scheduled. We have a primary in August, and then we're going to have a general election in November. In this last year, we appointed Tammy Dorsch to our deputy treasurer because our previous deputy treasurer had retired. We appointed Chet Schultz and Garrett Ladd to the Planning Commission. We appointed Tammy Dorsch to deputy treasurer. We had a slight increase in revenue sharing, and we also received our first payment of ARPA funds in the total of $554,000. That money is sitting in a fund. It can only be used for certain purposes. We're going to find out. We've just got a final ruling. We'll be talking about that in an upcoming meeting or so as to what we can spend it on and share with the public the restrictions that we have on it. It's basically for infrastructure. In last year, we repaved White Lake Road from Karma Road to Heartland Road. And Whitaker Road was a broken down limestone road. It was really dusty, so we went in, scraped that out, and we put gravel to that road to improve that road. We received funds for right-of-way, and we use that to cut trees. And what happens, we have trees, the right-of-way, they fall, and they block the road. Fire department comes out, so we use that money to cut trees that are potential of falling into the road and help reduce our fire run costs. Cider Mill Crossing growth continues. They're just about built out. They have to purchase more REUs from us this year, which is a good thing. So I believe that's pretty close to $300,000 in REUs. Tyrone Woods is in the process for expanding to their second phase. They're going to be adding approximately 100 more units out there, and they've had some infrastructure work that they needed to work on and some sewer stuff. So if all goes well with them, they'll probably break ground this year. We're continuing to work on our ordinance to improve quality. This building, when we bought it, we knew that the furnaces and the AC units were bad. We finished replacing all those furnaces and AC units this year. We've updated our 20-year sewer plan, and again this year we will not need to loan money from the general fund. In the past, we were upside down on that, and we loaned money to it, so doing much better now. Cider Mill Crossings had a lot to do with that. Once again, this year, we have a budget surplus. So for the last 11 years, we've had a budget surplus. Our estimated surplus for this year is $285,000. We take those funds and we allocate them right now to the road fund and the building fund. We still have parking lot work that needs to be done. We knew that when we bought this building. It needs to be repaved. You'll see it when you drive out. It's starting to pothole pretty bad. Last year, we initiated the master plan revision, and we'll be working on that pretty intensely this year. So the budget process, the way we do that is we start out by estimating what our revenue is. And historical data gives us a good landmark for that, and it's usually pretty consistent. Then we review our township services, we determine our need of service, and then we estimate our expenses for the year. We develop our budget based on our income and our year-to-date budget versus our actual expenses. Some of the challenges that we face, we don't know what's going to happen with revenue sharing for next year because of COVID. There was a lot of decrease in state revenue. We just don't know how that's going to impact us this year, so we'll wait and see. We're always tracking our 20-year sewer bond repayment plan. Like I said earlier, we're in good shape with that. And we continue to review all of our services and expenses. The Orchard County Park area, which is a subdivision at the north end of the township, is going to have an inter-county drain put in. So we're working with Genesee County because their flow is coming into our township, and it's been causing some flooding in a couple of houses there. So they're going to be improving that drain so those houses no longer flood. Part of that is that we'll receive an assessment from the drain per the state drain code. So we'll have to budget some money and set that aside for that. Roads is a challenge because we know that there were a bunch of new bonds that were taken out in the last couple of years. We don't know how that's going to affect Public Act 51 and future funding for local roads. However, as previously mentioned, we are putting budget reserves in roads to improve the roads for our residents. So this is a breakdown of a chart that shows our millage rate. Your tax dollars millage rate at 0.8625 and the residential tax value per $100,000 taxable value. So out of that $100,000 taxable value, depending on what school district you're in, we have Heartland on the bottom left, Linden in the middle, and Fenton. You can see the pink is used for public safety. The township is that little light green box. You get about $86 to the township. Cromane Library in Heartland gets $325. Mott College in Fenton and Linden gets $275. The intermediate school district gets $372, $372, and $323. The county gets $385. The local schools, Heartland gets $5,998, Linden gets $5,542, and Fenton gets $5,598. State education, I'm sorry, 998, 542, and 598. I'm sorry, it is. And then state education gets $600. So most of your tax dollars go between libraries, Mott College, intermediate school district, local schools, and state education. We have our annual revenue by source. The township, our projected revenues are over $2 million for this year. Franchise fees, which we get from cable and different utilities, Miscellaneous federal, you can see that that's pretty high. That's that 578,000 that we got from the ARPA funds. Revenue sharing, 816,500. That comes from the state. Various services that are fees that you pay for at the township, land use permits, etc., and then tax dollars. So that's the breakdown of our revenue. So these are the expenses by our department. The big amount of money that we spend here are roads, insurance, bonds, fringes, and planning commission. And you notice that the planning commission spiked this year because we're doing the master plan. You also notice that roads spiked this year because we're going to do a couple of big projects, and there's a good chance that some of the ARPA funds may be used for that, but that's yet to be determined. So, next slide is our general fund revenue and expenses by department. With no significant increases over last year. These are our restricted funds. The next slide, that's for public safety. There's revenue and expenses. It's not that we're not receiving enough revenue on those. We do have fund balance on them, so those funds are not in the negative. Leave that there for a second. So I don't read it. So these are the funds that are not in our general fund. Yeah, most of them are special funds. So that's basically how our money comes in and how we spend it. At this point, I'll take public comment. If anybody would like to make a comment, please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record, please.
Scott Dietrich, White Lake Road. This is just want public comments on this, or can I talk to anything on the agenda?
This is a public hearing specifically for
Which
this.
is that okay? I see there's no public hearing before we start the other part, so I was wondering why we're having a public hearing for that.
You mean
Public comment.
Yeah, public comment will, after the public hearing, we'll go into the agenda and there'll be public comment.
Okay, that's, I didn't see it on there, okay. All right, I'd like to know, and I'll pay for the copies. I'd like to know what this township is paying, what employees we have here, what our expenses are for each individual employee, plus benefits. I want to know everybody that's contracted to this township to do work. I want a readout of every dollar spent.
Sure.
I'd like to have that.
Yeah.
I'll pay for the copies.
Okay.
But
Just fill out a form.
I haven't seen, I'd like to know.
We'll gladly provide for you.
Yeah, that's what we need. I think the people would like to know, what the revenues is that we're paying here for employees. I know we've added a lot, and I know you're asking, because we've got a budget here, I'll get into it further. I know you want to add more income, but I want to see where the money's going here. And I think we're not getting enough from the tax dollars here anyway, but I know you guys got little compared to where everybody else is getting, but I still like to see the numbers. What the salaries are, what the benefits are, the hours. I know the office is only open 32 hours a week, so I'd kind of like to see that with what we're spending here to run this office. And I appreciate that.
Sure. Anyone else? Let's go.
Good evening. Good
Good
evening.
evening. Name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, Don Pines, Carmel Road. In reference to, I know that we're going for looking to increase the millage rate for taxes, right?
That's not true.
No?
No. It means that we can levy up to, but we are not.
Up
going
to 900. 0.
Right, but we cannot, by law, we cannot increase it. So it will be the same or less than it was last year.
Okay.
Yeah, it just says, the resolution says we can levy up to, but we're not going to.
So, right now it's 0.8625.
Correct.
So, do we have an idea, because we all know taxes in government, they can go up, they go down, but property taxes do go down, but they certainly don't go down as much as they go up. So over time, they just continue to rise, which is the value of housing. So I've received my future assessment on the properties I have, and they're up. Do we know what the increase in revenue that's going to be projected from the increase in value of these properties, the taxable value? Do you have that? Do we have that number? Because we can get it.
I can get that, we can get that from assessing, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm assuming most everybody has gotten an increase in their taxable value, this future assessment that we received in the mail. So I'm curious to know how much more revenue that will bring in. Now, one thing's pretty obvious to all of us, they're a mess everywhere. So whoever said they were going to fix the darn roads, maybe they'll get a chance. But we also know that the county can't afford all this. So over the years, we've had to chip in. And a lot of the roads are traveled by people that don't live in the township. There's some major roads that have a lot of traffic. So trying to get anything done state-wise, county-wise, the funds are not there, and I understand it. Just like Heartland Township put in a road bridge, right? They did that 4 years ago. However, I'm not proposing we do that. One way to look at this may be to do what we did for the fire and the police, and we got an assessment. Because I don't think the roads, so if you use a millage, it's based on the value of your property. So if your assessed value is going up, you have the same millage rate, you're going to be paying more. The roads benefit everybody equally. Just like the fire department and the police department benefit everybody. I don't care the value of your house, up, down, or whatever it is, you deserve the roads that we have to drive on, just like anybody else. So it's the problem with property taxes in the state. So the easiest thing to do is try, well, it's not easy, because it's kind of hard to get villages passed, just like it was difficult to get the assessment passed. But we did it. I know we did it. People involved in it, and we involve people by education. So people are interested in good fire and police protection. We're really now interested in good roads. So we should probably think about a road assessment, which would have to be voted on. Now we have to get input from the residents. I think it's a much more equitable way to do things, because whether you drive on the road or any of these people here drive on it, they all deserve the same road. So let's look into that rather than thinking about millages that take care of the roads. I understand that this budget for roads is going to go up. We can all talk about our favorite spots that need fixed. And you turn the corner and, oh, there's another. Or it's the spot we all live on, or the spot we have to drive through. We all deserve the good roads. And let's face it, we're going to have to kick in money every year, because we've started that process. We're really not going to get much more, because the money that is talked about at the state level is going to go to major roads. No doubt, because I've driven all over this southeast and northern, and we have a lot of work to do on roads. So think about that. It might be a way we can get it done. It might take a little while and a lot of education, but it's worth it. And I think people will see that money just goes to roads. All right? There's no taking from this budget or that budget. It would be just to fund the road budget. It couldn't be used for anything else. It might be a good way to do it. So, just to recap, it would be interesting to know, based on future assessments, how much more revenue are we going to get from that? Okay. Thank you for your help over these last couple of years. I know it's been tough. Zoom meetings and all, but you're doing a fine job and keep up the good work. Thank you.
Oh, by the way, did you know your trees are gone?
Which ones?
One's over there off of Ringling?
Oh!
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know how that happened.
I know they're gone.
Okay. One of them is. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, let's go to Zoom. Anybody up there on Zoom have any questions? If anybody on Zoom has a question, please use the raise your hand. Or if you don't know how to use raise your hand, unmute yourself. Give them just a second. Okay, being that there's none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing, and we'll motion for approval of the agenda. We have our state rep, Bob Bazat, here again, and I'd like to add him. I'll go ahead and add him as business 1A and let him speak while he's here. And if there's no other changes, I'll entertain the motion.
So moved.
Support. Been motioned and supported to approve the agenda as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Next is approval of the consent agenda. The regular board meeting minutes from February 1st, 2022. The treasurer's report from January 31st, 2022. Clerk's warrants and bills from February 23rd, 2022.
So moved. Support.
It's been motioned and supported to approve the consent agenda as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, that motion carries. We have 4 communication items. The first one is the Livingston County Sheriff's Report, January 31st, 2022. The Planning Commission meeting synopsis, February 8th, 2022. The Planning Commission workshop synopsis, February 16th, 2022. And the Fire Services Report, February 23rd, 2022.
So moved. Support.
It's been motioned and supported to receive communications 1 through 4 and place on file. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, that motion carries. We do not have any unfinished business, so we will move to new business. Item 1A. Mr. Rep. Bazat, you want to go ahead and take the podium?
We're not gonna have public comments before you go do this?
You know what?
Tony, you can talk, you can, Mr.
That,
Bazak.
you know what? I did say that, so
That's fine, I would like to hear what he has to say anyway.
we will do that, but then afterwards I'm going to have somebody withdraw the motion on the agenda.
Yeah.
And then we'll start. So go ahead.
I told you guys that I would come back and tell you about my community college, the tax that is levied to, I think, 3 precincts out of your township. And it's going to take a ballot initiative to do that. I'm not giving you legal advice, you can get that from your attorney, but our legal department up in Lansing said that it's going to take a ballot initiative. So you have to put that on the ballot, and Genesee County will be involved in, obviously, along with those 3 precincts within your township.
So is it a totally different initiative that we would have to create, get signatures to get on the ballot?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
That's the simple answer.
Okay.
The other thing that we talked about, Sarah, was the recreational marijuana. And I just happened to have a meeting with Denise today, who's an expert, and she's an attorney out of Howell.
Yeah.
Right? And so I asked her to, it's very confusing about what the township can do and what you can't do. So I gave you a handout on the municipal guide. And I think the best one is the recreational marijuana question and answer, what you can do and what you can't do. You can opt in or opt out. There's a process to do that. And I think Denise brought some, if it's okay with Mr.
Sure.
Chair, if she could comment on.
Sure.
Thanks, Denise.
Sure, of course. My name is Denise Policella. I've been a resident of Livingston County and Genoa Township for 21 years. I'm a practicing attorney, 25 years, and I have a law office in Genoa Township. on Grand River Lansing. I've been practicing in the cannabis space for 12 years. I helped to draft the Medical Marijuana Facilities Licensing Act. And when I met with Rep. Razat today about some related issues, it came to my attention that there might be, the township might benefit from me being able to come in and nutshell and encapsulate the laws and what you can do about particularly recreational marijuana and caregiver grows. I'm not going to bother with the licensed stuff. I can come back when you all have 10 hours and we'll do the licensed facilities. This is specific to recreational marijuana that was legalized under Prop 1 of 2018, which we call MRTMA, which is the worst acronym ever, and also caregiver and patient conduct under the 2008 initiated law, which was called the Medical Marijuana Act. This is the state of the law right now, and this is what you can, or if you choose not to do about it. There's nothing you can do about recreational adult use marijuana private growing, okay? So let me be clear that nobody can grow marijuana for profit in your township if you've decided that you're not going to allow it. That is licensed conduct, cannot be done here. If people want to do marijuana businesses for profit, they can come to me or lobby the township and try to get the township to opt in or go elsewhere where they do allow licensed facilities that have opted in. They can get a permit, a license, and make a business like anybody else. You cannot sell marijuana for profit otherwise, okay? Caregivers selling marijuana are committing felonies. Anybody else selling marijuana without a license are committing felonies. There is no gray area there. There's never been a gray area. I know people love to talk about the gray area. It's not gray. You're either breaking the law or you're not. As far as recreational adult use goes, anybody over 21 can grow recreational adult use marijuana. However, there's a restriction on that. Okay, there aren't too many restrictions, but the one restriction is that it's 12 plants per residence, not resident. Okay, so you can have 30 people over 21 in one house, you get 12 plants, that's it. Okay, that's it. You can grow 12 plants, and fortunately or unfortunately, it's not regulated conduct. Okay, you don't need a permit, you don't need zoning, you don't need a license, you don't need permission. And however, I think it will be interesting, we haven't seen it yet, it will be interesting to see what associations like condo associations do about that kind of thing, because it is not a right. It's not a constitutional right. It's not a right to do it. So in the event that a private association wanted to restrict it, I think they'd have some luck. I don't know if I know that, but in any event, as far as caregiver rules are concerned, however, since April of 2020, there was a Michigan Supreme Court decision, the DeRuiter case, that does allow municipalities to restrict and regulate and zone caregivers. Okay, caregivers are the people that help patients grow marijuana for themselves under the Medical Marijuana Act. And to the extent that caregivers in any community are doing it responsibly, they're not usually an issue. Okay. However, and I will tell you that 72 plants is more marijuana than 5 people will ever need. And that was kind of a loophole weirdness in the Medical Marijuana Act that we tried to fix in the Medical Marijuana Facilities Licensing Act. And that caregivers should not be selling their marijuana. Okay. The township does have the ability, if it wants to, and I've given the township, I just pulled 2 ordinances that I thought were pretty good. They're called caregiver ordinances. Okay. These ordinances can be passed by the township if they want to restrict where caregivers can operate and put reasonable restrictions around them. You can treat them like home-based businesses, or you can, like Allen Park and Warren, require them to be in industrial districts and not allow them any residences. The township now has this power. You did not from 2008 until 2020, but you do now, and it can be confusing because we're literally operating under 4 separate statutes right now. And I know people think that they're that people who are caregivers tend to think, and I'm not necessarily anti-caregiver, but I will say there's a lot of confusion in the law there. People who are caregivers think they have a right to grow marijuana in their homes. If the township takes no action, and that's absolutely right, then caregivers are allowed to locate anywhere on private property. It doesn't have to be their property, they just have to have the permission of the property owner. However, if the township so chooses, they can pass an ordinance that would restrict where caregivers can grow, would require them to get permitted, would require them to have inspections, would require them to pay permitting fees. The city of Warren does it very successfully, and many other municipalities around the state have done it since April 2020, to try to make sure that caregiving is done in a responsible manner, it's tracked by law enforcement, it doesn't get out of hand, and that it's not potentially in residential areas. I think that it's not, I don't think that it's ambiguous at all that a large caregiver role would be not good for residential infrastructure. And part of the reason that the Medical Marijuana Facilities Licensing Act was created was to make sure that if people wanted to do marijuana for profit, it was out of houses. So, in any event, I'll answer any questions you may have, but I'm pretty good at nutshelling it and making it into English. I've been doing this for a while, so I often come in and talk about that.
I couldn't have done it better, so. Coming and trying to answer the question,
I
I'm glad you came.
I had a lot of practice at it. So, and we do routinely draft ordinances for municipalities. We work with the village of St. Denis that I personally drafted.
Yeah, we do, we have ordinance.
Right. So you have a caregiver ordinance right now?
Yes.
Okay, so are you restricting caregiver?
Yeah, only in certain zoning districts.
So it can't be in a residence then? It can be or it can't?
It can be in farming, residential, I have to review it, I don't know for sure, but I believe it's RE and FR.
Okay, so I think that's, okay, so I think that maybe one of your residents has a suggestion for amending it.
Right.
My guess is that it's getting, I was brought here because I think a resident of the township is
Sure.
is wanting to be enforced a little bit more strictly. Yeah.
That's up to the township.
That's up to the township.
We just wanted to give you guys a briefing, see if you
Sure.
had any questions, or certainly, the expert can answer those questions.
I guess the only question I would have is back to the recreational, each individual resident can have 12 plants. Residents, yes, that's what I meant.
12 plants
Residents.
for residents, yeah.
Residents.
And that's not able to be regulated, right? Yeah.
Is it required to be in a locked, secured area during growing? So it needs to grow wide open.
You can grow 12 marijuana plants more freely than you can grow industrial hemp, really, right now.
So basically, a residence can grow less restrictive than someone who's following an ordinance for medical.
Correct, but just 12 plants.
Just
Yes,
12, yeah.
just
Yeah.
12, and just for personal use.
Right.
You cannot sell it,
Understood.
right? But
Yep.
yeah, that's 12 plants, so I think that's about it. Anybody has any questions?
Any questions?
Well, when the caregiver facility qualify as profitable?
I'm sorry?
They're profitable, a caregiver facility is profitable.
Well, you can make it a home-based business, you can do a lot of
Well,
things with
the
it.
guy's got customers to
That's not,
support.
and that's not legal.
He's putting all that money in a building, he's not gonna make any money?
That's called, at that point, you need to get a license. And that's frankly, that's the law.
Mike, would you like us to wait to ask these folks questions?
No, you can ask them right now, while they're here, ask them questions.
Okay, sorry, Scott, go ahead.
No, I'm done, Shan. Good.
Because with caregivers that are asking for approvals right now, on Fawcett Road, so my understanding would be that they're then supplying, what was it, 12 plants for how many customers did they? Or I don't know,
Up to 5.
12 customers. So they're not selling any of that? They're
They
just
can
growing
sell-
it as a favor and giving
Well,
it to
they
the
can technically
people?
recoup their costs, under the law, they can recoup the cost of growing the marijuana from the patient.
But, okay,
They're paying themselves.
so okay, well, that's pretty.
Do they have a standardized cost of what it costs to grow a plant?
You know,
Clear that up, right?
I can
Well,
guess.
I just-
About
Studies and everything else.
$500 a plant to grow a plant indoors, but that's a really broad generalization.
Well, we need to know these numbers. What do you mean?
I not a girl, I
Yeah.
get this information.
And you made the comment that,
But you're a lawyer, right?
Mhm.
Okay, just checking.
She's only providing the data.
She's not a
that's just,
manufacturer.
Yeah, she just gets data.
when you refer to stuff being pretty clear in black and white, it's,
Pretty gray right now.
I find, it's not, I'm not questioning you, I find it hard to believe, because we already have been told that they somewhat recently invested $100,000 into the building, to make a bunch of improvements. I don't care, but it's like if they're growing for other people, they guarantee the community that there are only gonna be very, very limited number of folks to have access to the property. And if they're growing it for these other folks who, it sounds like, are able to participate if they wanted to, and like help out with their growth, they can't, the people aren't doing it, so, or they can't do it. My whole point is, I don't believe that they're not selling it.
Me neither, but
Yeah.
that's not my place, I don't.
I understand,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to understand the,
Let me put it
It's
this
just-
way, and I'm not casting aspersions. I got to meet a caregiver in 12 years of practice who wasn't selling marijuana to more than their 5 patients. Now, they may be out there, I just haven't met them, this is anecdotal, but I don't know what, I mean, and there are caregivers that I'm sure do it not for profit and not to be illegal drug dealers.
and I'm not questioning.
But the
your
illicit industry
appreciation.
is very profitable in Michigan. I mean,
Uh-huh.
there was a report done fairly recently, last year, that, showed 2/3 of the marijuana sold in Michigan is on the black market. So it's coming from somewhere.
And I really appreciate your information.
Sure.
I have a question. I believe that even though we have an ordinance, it needs to be tightened up because it does allow for this caregiver thing to be near children. And I think we need to tighten that up. My question to you, is it possible for us to tighten that ordinance up when something is in the process? Or do we have to allow the person in the process to live by the old rules?
I don't think that it would be grandfathered in, but that would be a better question for the township attorney. I don't believe it would be grandfathered in. I think that was your question.
See, I think that's where we get hung up a lot, is we go, well, here's the rule right now, and you never find out until you're going through these problems that you've got a problem with the ordinance.
It's growing pains, right? And I will tell you, after 2018, there was a ton of confusion about the law, and it's very difficult to get, any illegal conduct enforced, and there's a lot of, there's a point where a caregiver grows completely legal, and then depending on what they do with it, it's completely illegal. So, and so it's very difficult to enforce. But, it's something that I think could be worked on. I don't want to make a broad legal conclusion. I haven't read through the township ordinance yet. There is something called, the layman's term is grandfathering, but,
So you're saying it's not necessarily
I
grandfathered?
don't know. It depends on how it's treated. I mean, and we could talk about
I can
that.
answer
We could
that
potentially
question.
Call it something.
I can answer that question. That is one of the ordinances that we have reviewed several times, and we will always be reviewing because there's so many changes to the law. I think since we've created it, we've changed it 3 times already. So there will be more changes to it. It is a zoning ordinance, and once somebody makes an application for a zoning ordinance, we cannot change the rules. They have to follow the rules that are in place the day that they apply. So just because somebody comes in and applies for something, we don't like that, we don't want it, we can't go shuffle the deck and change the rules. They fall under the rules that apply at the time that they submitted their application.
But we could stop any future ones. You might have one problem, but we can make some changes so we don't have any future ones popping in. Or this same individual then can buy subsequent grant of sections of land and
Sure.
continue to make this into a big township. Right.
Yeah, we can always make changes to the ordinance. Our voters, when it went in, we looked at our voters approved it.
Yeah, but nobody
So-
anticipates what's going on. I mean, that's what I'm saying. We're
Well,
looking
yeah, and that's
at-
that, sure. I'm not arguing with you. I'm just giving you the history.
Yeah,
And-
I voted too. so-
Yeah.
But I never anticipated it's going in next to, places where you got kids. You vote for something, but you don't understand all the consequences of that.
Right, and we've ran into scenarios where we're like, hey, you know what, that's not right, and we've changed it. So, and I'm sure it'll be revisited again soon.
If I could comment, since you made that comment.
Sure.
It's being looked at right now, taxes and regulatory reform, and lots of Matt Hall's committee is looking at it. And they had a hearing on this about 2 months ago, to go through law and make it more restrictive and accountable. Because we knew when this law passed, these types of issues weren't addressed at the time. It was just, if you wanted it, then we fix it later. So I can tell you, they're trying to fix it in Lansing, some of the.
They're still
They need to fix the concept of you can't, it's a felony to sell, but you can recoup your costs. That sounds great. Well,
Yeah, but like Denise said, you've got 5 patients, and if somebody knows that you'd have to have somebody that call the sheriff's department or state police and file a complaint if they knew of something going on. That's the only way that, they do have inspections, right? If you're part of the
Should have,
process.
right.
Are they state inspections?
No, it would be municipal, but the representatives talking about the Michigan Cannabis Safety Act. So, the act would generally require people who are caregivers to become licensed by the state, and then they would be state inspected, and they wouldn't be able to be in residential areas, and they would not be grandfathered in by this. So, if you want something done about this at a state level, definitely call your representative.
Yeah.
Or just phone number as of
Yeah, call the governor, call whomever, and let them know that you would support cannabis safety. That was why it was great.
I don't think a lot of people are against just where it's going. Well, I voted for it. I think we were spending millions of dollars fighting it. And it's, there's certain things you keep fighting it. And I couldn't see spending all that money.
Correct.
But I got family members that smoke. Doctors get the cards out that they're M&Ms. So, and like I said, they said, put it regulated and put it in a place that, someone's getting a safe product. Not for medical reasons, mostly. It does have done some wonders for people. So for some things, but.
And that's fine, and we're all for medical
Yeah.
marijuana that's lab tested.
That's right.
Safe, regulated, creates a
Exactly.
job or two, and
Exactly.
is accessed through a licensed facility. That's not what we're talking about.
No, maybe that's what we want to for.
The gentleman behind him has a question.
Yeah, why don't we make the law tougher in our area right off the bat? How long have you been in office? Were you in office when it passed?
Yes,
Okay, so why weren't we proactive?
we have made it tougher.
Pardon me?
We have made it tougher.
No.
Twice.
I'm talking about from day one. Why didn't we make it so tough that this idiot, 2 houses down from me, wouldn't have the ability to have this grow in a residential area? They say the shit flows downhill. In the case of California, it goes from west to east, okay? And that's where it started, and then it had a stop off in Colorado for a while, and then you got all the problems out there, and then the last election, you had either Washington or Oregon approve any kind of drugs, and part of it was that they would use the money from that drug to have benefits for the people once they get all screwed up on this crap, okay? When they get all screwed up on this stuff, they would have the ability to go to these doctors or whatever it might be to get help. It's just a matter of time. It's in Colorado right now. It's going to get here. We need to do something now. We can't keep screwing around. You need to make something tough right now. I don't want this thing 2 houses down from me. We're gonna have to do something, one way or another. You clear on that, right?
Well, I understand that you want it, but it's a permitted use, and they filed an application, and if they meet the requirements of the zoning ordinance.
Well, I'm misunderstanding this lady then, because I don't get that from her. So what do you think?
Like I said, our planning commission will probably review it again here real shortly, so they'll make a recommendation to the board.
Thank you.
Just to reiterate what he was saying, I think I understand what he's saying.
I understand what you're saying.
Well, and it's like a lot of issues I come here to fight about, because this happened in my neighborhood, is you guys, a neighbor comes to you, and one of our neighbors comes and says, well, I want to do this in my backyard. But you don't take it into consideration, you'll pass that ordinance for that neighbor to do it. But it's like he's got more rights than the guy next to him. It's like you guys go ahead and pass it, like a wedding barn or something like this. Oh yeah, you can bring 400 people here, or the zoo down on Harvard Road. I mean, you guys will say, yeah, do it, but it doesn't matter for the guy that lives next door that's got to deal with 200-300 cars a day. What's his rights? What we're saying is, it's not a problem to have it here. We just don't want it in our residential area. Don't want it next to your house. I mean, someone can have a small little thing going on, fine. But when you got something big like this, or a wedding barn, you guys probably should have foresaw that in the right day one. That's what I've been fighting with you guys for a long time.
That's why it's
Yeah.
allowed in
It's allowed in
rural
rural,
and farming.
but that's still rural, and it's still rural out here. Houses are still pretty close.
Yeah, it's not allowed in, our R1, our R2, our LK1.
But like I said, it was
I'm supposed to
probably,
be residential. That's not farming. So, you know,
And farming is-
and
is
here's
farming
my real
residential.
question. How many people
Sure.
can apply in a township for a license? Can you tell me that? 100%. Pardon me?
No, not 100%. They have to be in the zoning district. So-
Okay, so I'm in it.
Yes.
So all my neighbors are gonna apply. All right? What are you gonna do?
What am I gonna do?
Yeah. Because
I'm gonna accept their application as is now if they apply.
It's what?
If they applied right now, our ordinance, we would accept the application and they would go through the planning commission.
Okay, and what I'm saying is, what if my whole neighborhood applies? What are you gonna do? You know? Just a minute, I'll listen to you next. What are you gonna do? Have you even thought about it? This is what I'm talking about, proactive. Okay, if I apply, how are you gonna turn me down when 2 doors down you got a nut doing it? No
It's a
answer.
hypothetical.
Hypothetical, no it ain't.
I don't know the
because
answer because it hasn't happened.
It's gonna happen. I'll guarantee you it's gonna happen. Because I'll be the guy to do it. Okay, I'll force the issue. And then what will you do? It should have already been covered. Okay?
It has been covered by our planning commission. They will look at it again. They continually look at it. They've looked at it at least 3 times already.
And they haven't done enough because it's 2 doors down from my house.
Well, I'm sorry.
Well, okay, I am too.
I don't.
Because there's a part that's
I don't know what to do. We have
it's gonna have an effect on you.
Okay. Sorry.
Well, when we get to the part where you want to raise, I don't think so.
I'm not asking for a raise.
Well, then,
So,
I
there-
guess I
get your
saw
facts
something on
right.
here that's not.
Okay. Anybody else?
I
Yes.
just got a couple. One, and maybe Mike, you can answer this.
I'm sorry. What did you call me, sir?
What?
What did you say to me?
I say nothing to you. What's wrong about
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Are we allowed to, or do they have to provide any financials for this permit showing that they are nonprofit, not selling for money, to meet the criteria of our ordinance? And 2, they were previously breaking the law, they've been doing it without their proper permitting. Is there any reason that if they were, if they went to court, if we took them to court over it, could we stop them for that reason? Because they were previously doing it illegally?
Did you want to answer that one, Chuck?
Obviously, if they're doing something illegal, we can take them to court.
I mean, they were doing this prior to coming before this.
So
this permit.
it's like what happens is most of these growers, they're licensed by the state, and the caregivers are licensed by the state. So they go to the state, they get their license, and they get their permit. They think that they're legal, and they start their operation. When we find out about it, we send them a nice little nastygram saying, you need to come down to the township. If they respond in a expedient time, we say, okay, here's what you need to do to get legal. We don't shut them down. If this is showing that they're complying, okay, didn't know, shame on me, okay, good, we're gonna get you legal. If they don't comply, then how many times have we had people that didn't comply and we take them to court and get them to comply? Frequently.
Many times.
So that's how this situation occurred,
But they're still allowed to do it until they get the permit.
Yeah.
It seems to me they would be shut down until they got the proper permit.
Thinking that too.
Like anybody else is breaking the ordinance. If you're building a house and you're outside the ordinance, you stop building until you get compliant.
If you would have heard the supervisor, what he was saying is that, once we find out, we notify them. If they come in right away and say, what do I have to do to become legal? And they act on what we tell them, that is a much quicker way to get them to become legal than to file a lawsuit. We've had lawsuits that we've been in court for over a year trying to enforce.
I did hear that, and what I said was, but like anybody else that's breaking an ordinance, if you're breaking it, you stop until you fix the problems. You don't continue to build while you're taking care of permitting. You stop till you get the permit.
We can't force them, we can't go to their house and pull them out of the house and stop them. The point is, if they are willing to correct the problem immediately, that's quicker than going to court. Otherwise, we'll be in court for a year.
But you can stop a builder immediately. A cease and desist letter.
Township does it, county building.
But it's all the same, it's all the same principle. I think what the gentleman's saying is like, if one legal entity, government entity is allowed to stop progress on something, then everybody should be having to fall under the same type of rule, and especially with something just, for example, as controversial as marijuana is, for good or bad, and I don't have an opinion, it's like, if these folks were able to operate as long as everybody says they did, without the proper permitting, et cetera, and then they come in and they do just get their hands slapped. Personally, what difference does it make if they come to the township a day after they get their hands slapped or a year after? They should have to stop doing their activity just like any other law-abiding citizen. I think that's the point he's making, and it doesn't matter what governmental department you're
All I can say is,
referring to.
the township gets its authority from the state.
Right.
We have no authority
Mhm.
to go out and stop people from certain types of conduct, even though it may be a violation of our zone. We have to rely on the system. We just don't have that authority. We don't have the same authority as the county does with building permits. We don't have the same authority as the state does with other aspects. We don't have the authority.
Is there an inspector or anything like builders have to comply with, like inspecting these grow houses?
Yeah, we have a provision in our ordinance, I believe. We had one.
One inspector?
We had one medical grow operation. I went out with law enforcement, and after law enforcement got done with him, he packed up his stuff and he left and never came back.
Right, so she just hit the biggest point, right? I think that the township has, I'm sure, been as responsible as I thought it needed to be, passing the caregiver ordinance, and it's just not working out as well in areas that are also residential, and maybe it's just a question of enforcing the existing ordinance. It could be that simple. I mean, it could be that there are rules in
and we
place
are
and
enforcing.
inspections and things. Well, I don't know, but I mean, if there's a house that is a caregiver in it, that has a stream of cars out the driveway every night, that's not a legal caregiver grow. you know what I'm saying?
And
So-
once we find out about it,
Right.
we
Right, so I think it may just be a question of stricter enforcement of the.
The other
existing
question was the
ordinance.
financials. Are we allowed to ask for their financials prior to give them permit to show?
I-
Prove that they are not selling for profit?
I don't know that that's in our ordinance or not. So,
Yeah, that's the issue.
yeah, right.
Well, would it be possible to figure it out where they can only put one grow per 5 square miles or 2 square miles? That alleviates the problem that you have of not turning it into a drug neighborhood. You know, he just doesn't want to have 100 grows out there. You know, this one where they spend $100,000 on the building, you know, if you get 12 plants at a time, let's say, I don't know how many times you can grow a plant a year, let's say you call it twice a year. It's 24, 5 times?
4 or 5 times, yeah.
Okay, well, that takes off, because if they were to harvest twice a year, selling at $100 a plant, it would take them 41 years to pay off the building. Nobody's making that investment.
I don't know that we can regulate how many are in one area or not yet, but we can look into that. That's fine.
I know that this isn't on the agenda, but it's interesting that there's a lot of people that are concerned about it. One way or the other. I'm not here to speak about that, but perhaps what we should do is get with the planning commission, look at a change and have a public hearing, so that's the focus of that meeting. This
Yeah,
will go on a long time with all of our comments.
Right, and you know what,
So,
we're trying to get through the comments, because I know that there's a
well, I think,
few that are concerned about it.
I'll bet you,
And I've said-
you've got enough comments that you know there's gonna be more once we have.
And hear this comment again, our planning commission will be reading it again
So-
soon.
Maybe that should be the focus of one planning commission meeting and one public hearing.
Right.
I have a question. In a lot of commercial ways, when you have something going on, or you're putting up a building, you have to notify the property owners around you, because I go through it, building, industrial buildings. Perhaps that should be some consideration to our ordinance, that maybe you gotta notify people around you so they can make a comment. But I don't-
They did.
If we,
They notify us.
On a special land use permit, we have to. All we do.
then maybe we should go that route, but you said.
We did.
I don't know what the zoning is where you can put a medical grow operation. But perhaps that should be considered. Because really, if there's something that people can believe to be a medical requirement, that right is really given to anybody, right? Anybody can go to the state with their permit and then go through their township, because anybody can do it. But the concern about children, well, there's children everywhere, right? It's like a bar, you have to get permission from the church and the municipality to go to a bar with it, so.
Can a felon get a caregiver license? So not anybody can go.
Okay, they can't, prisoners can't vote, but that's going to happen too. So, I'm just suggesting, turn this into a meeting, have that out there, publish it, and then get it out.
All right, I'm going to say this from last time we were on. The planning commission will be looking at this again soon. Everybody get it?
Real soon.
Thank you for showing up. Okay.
Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Yes, thank you. I need a motion to withdraw approval of the agenda, and a new motion to include the addition of a public comment, and to include the amending of, Bob was up here.
So moved. Support.
It's been motioned, well, who made the original motion?
I did.
Okay, so it's been motioned to withdraw the original motion of approval of agenda, and now I need a new motion. So it's been motioned to approve the agenda with a public comment and item 1A, Representative Bob Razak. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Excuse me? We're conducting a meeting here. If you'd like to talk, please leave. Thank you. Okay. Those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving on to item number 1 is we're adopt a resolution to adopt the 2022-23 budget by department totals.
So resolved.
Support.
It's been resolved and supported to approve the resolution, the budget resolution for 2023.
We never got the public comments.
You're right.
It just felt like it.
Let's
Sorry, no, it's been confusing.
back up. Withdraw the motion, please.
I withdraw the motion.
Public comment. Yes, Scott.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bazat. Ma'am, I can't remember your name, sorry. It was very, I understand. We're bound by our zoning ordinance now. That's fine. That's not explained to you. But as fast as we can get that changed, I think everybody, it's just one, I think it's pretty much one little item there that would really needs to be done. Let's get it out of the residential areas. Let's get it into the industrial area or a designated area. 23, there's no houses around where we consider that industrial area. All right, my major concern right now is another raise. And it was, a lot of people a few people were talking about it. I mean, this raise, guys, last time was through the roof. I mean, I know you wanted to say you're gonna catch up. This time, this office is only open 32 hours a week.
What raise are you referring to?
You guys are upping your raise for 5%.
Nothing more than a cost of living increase. It's not.
I don't care, it's still a raise. Listen, that's my comment. The people here want to know.
It's just a cost of
You're raising
living. All
your-
of our employees are getting it.
Well, my cost still goes up, but I don't get the raise every year.
Are you on Social Security?
This is the first time I got a raise in how many
You
years?
got 5.9%.
What was the one you guys got last time? I thought, you know what's funny? Any other time you come here to comment, you never, we ask you questions, you don't comment, you said it's a comment section only. Now you're gonna answer me? Now you're gonna answer me? I love to have you answer me, but you wanna argue with me? Listen,
I just
this is why I'm asking
you.
you put more, listen, 32 hours a week, that's part-time. And then you gotta have lunch out of that. It's 30 hours a week, you're taking a half an hour lunch. I'm sorry, $60,000 a year? 50-something thousand, it is?
Where are you getting your information, Mr.
How much was the
Dietrich?
numbers on that?
Five.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Where are you getting your
I'm sorry,
information?
I'm off a little bit number, okay?
You're off quite a bit.
Listen, I'm
We're not getting
All right.
a raise.
All right.
It's a cost of living increase, and we're giving all of our employees across the board, just like other
All right.
municipalities
Okay, fine,
and
give it
Social
to you.
Security.
Give it to you.
Now,
Fine.
now,
Take it.
now,
Now, listen, I got-
listen. If you want to continue to have public comment, please do so, and do it in accordingly in a nice, proper fashion. We would love to hear what you have to say, but be truthful and factual about what you were
I
saying.
made a mistake on the number. I just spoke. Don't tell me you never misspoke. 'cause we
I'm
tried
not,
many times.
I'm not saying, I
Okay.
apologize for
I apologize to the audience too.
Thank you.
$49,000 a year, I'm sorry. You know how many hours a week I had to work at Ford's to make that? And I was working 10, 12 hours a day.
1980 what?
I don't know.
You know what?
No, these people, and the Ford employees, so they're gonna get nothing like they used to get. But I'm gonna tell you something. 30 hours a week you guys are working in this office. You put more staff on. I better see the staff that's doing the real work. Maybe they're probably underpaid. But, you know, they're getting, I don't know what the hospitalization costs. That's why I'm asking you for the numbers. If you're giving them all medical benefits, I have no problem with it. Full-time employment. We don't need all the staff here. We put these people on 40-hour work. If you want to go 7 to 5:30 during the 4-day work week, fine. If not, put a Friday on. But you can't tell me you need all the staff. How many meetings did we cancel in the last so many months? Because there was no new business. Then you come to a meeting, we got a whole page full of crap. But the numbers, I mean, come on. Our government, local government used to run on people that came here and volunteered their time. I know it's a lot different now, it's a little more business. But that woman right there, probably, she comes and works every day, I know she does. I've known her for a long time. I'm not picking her out just because she's here, she's an office worker. She probably deserves every time she gets, she probably works her butt off. I'm not saying you guys don't either. But they're doing the lion's share of the work. You guys, I mean, we got an accountant, and we got a We got this, we got that, we got other people we're contracting to do all this work, and then we gotta pay our township officials this much money on top of that? With the benefits. And I'm sitting there thinking, this is a lot of tax dollars. I don't mind paying it, but it's not, it's part-time. 30 hours a week you're working in the office. And I just think, let's consolidate some of his jobs and eliminate a few jobs, but I think $49,000 a year is a lot for 30 hours a week. I'm sorry.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else? Have a comment?
What is this, public comment is for what, anything
Items on the agenda.
on the agenda?
Yeah. Did you have
And then
something?
later this
Did
public
you
comment
have
for
something?
general?
Yeah, did you have something?
Just clarification on what comment comes. Thanks.
Anyone else? All right, thank you for your comments. Moving on, resolution to adopt the 2023 budget by department totals.
So resolved. Support.
It's been resolved and supported to approve the 2023 budget by department totals. May I have a roll call vote, please?
David Walker, absent. Kurt Schultz,
Yes.
Herm Ferguson,
Yes.
Zach Tucker,
Yes.
Mike Cunningham,
Yes.
Jennifer Eden, yes. Marcy's absent.
So that resolution passes. Yeah.
That's why it's in a board packet, sir. It's not intended for you to read on the TV.
So this is a resolution to approve our appropriation acts that basically says that we will follow the Uniform Budget and Accounting Act, something that we have to do every year by statute.
So resolved. Support.
It's been resolved and supported to approve our General Appropriation Act for the budget fiscal year ending March 31st, 2023. Any further discussion? May I have a roll call vote, please?
Kurt Schultz,
Yes.
Herman Ferguson,
Yes.
Zach Tucker,
Yes.
Mike Cunningham,
Yes.
Jennifer Eden, yes. Marcy and David absent.
And that resolution passes. Moving on to item number 3 is our Headley operating tax millage rate. We have to pass this every year. It says that the township can levy up to 0.9081 mils. However, by law, we can't raise it. Our millage rate has had to decrease every year from 2012 to 2021, from 0.967 to 0.8625, so it will be somewhere at 0.8625, maybe a little bit less.
So resolved.
Support.
It's been resolved and supported to approve our operating tax millage rate resolution for 2022, 2023. Any further discussion? May I have a roll call vote, please?
Kurt Schultz,
Yes.
Herman Ferguson,
Yes.
Zach Tucker,
Yes.
Mike Cunningham,
Yes.
Jennifer Eden, yes. Absent is Marcy and David.
Resolution passes. Next, as you know, our clerk is resigning, and we're appointing a new clerk. We need to appoint a new clerk. We had 4 people that were interested. We received applications, met with them. It was nice meeting them all. And we have, a statute for appointing that. We have 45 days from the date that the clerk resigns to appoint somebody. It's a township board appointment. We have a policy, an ordinance, or a policy that says that the township supervisor and or the board can appoint a subcommittee to do interviews or make recommendations for appointment. And this year we have 2 elections coming up. we have one candidate that I feel is quite leveraged to become the next clerk based on her experience of working with elections. She's worked our last 2 elections, and that's something that has to get started on right away. She's worked held a couple of positions, and she's very familiar with it. So I would like to make a recommendation to our township board that we appoint Pam Moeller to the position to fulfill Marcy's term as clerk. Pam is here. If anybody has any questions that they would like to ask her, this is Pam right here in the front. So,
I do have a couple questions.
Mike, I do too. She's filling until the next election, or she's filling until?
So what happens is if she's appointed today, she will fulfill Marcy's term, but she will have to, because state law says it's before a certain time, she will have to be elected in the August primary and then on the ballot for the election.
Okay. So then she'd be up again in 2024.
When the rest of us are, correct. Yeah, so.
Pam, in reviewing your resume and your application, I have noticed that you've been an election inspector for many years. Can you tell the board your roles and responsibilities as an inspector?
Sure. I first started working elections in 2018 as an election inspector. There's a lot of housekeeping duties that go along with that role in terms of before the polls open and after the polls close. In the AM, basic duties are putting out precinct signs in the driveway, letting them know what precinct number they're in, and also including them at the entrance. Distance poll markers, 100 feet away from the building. So things like that, and posting voter information on the bulletin board. And the PM is tear down of equipment tables, storing them, ballot booths. But really, during the day, that's when you get a lot to do. That's when the action happens. Duties include rotating through 4 different stations. Everybody knows that comes to vote. The first place you hit up is your voter application. So we answer it, or I've answered any questions or give guidance to a voter to move them to the next station, which would be a qualification station where everybody shows their photo ID. I make sure that you're registered in our township to vote. Then I send you along to the 3rd station, which is the qualification station, as I call it, and that is where we run your ID and make sure that you are in our system. We give you a ballot number and send you on to your voting. Yeah, that's pretty much it for that.
Okay, perfect. You are also a chairman of the precinct at the church location, I believe.
Yes.
Can you tell us what that job entails?
Yes, actually, I was asked by our clerk, Marcy, to become the chairperson after I worked one election. And I've been chairing since then. My basic duties, opening and closing the polls. So the first thing I do when I open the polls is I take my oath, administered by the clerk, and then I administer the oath to all the election inspectors. And then the fun begins, election equipment setup. We have a Verity system, so I set up the tabulator, run a poll, a zero report. Then I set up our laptops and plug in a flash drive to that. And I lost my train of thought. There's a lot to do on election day.
Yeah.
Then I move on to assigning workers their station that they'd like to work at. During the day, I also ensure that the stations are moving along smoothly. If there's a backup or something, I jump in and help with that. I solve any registration discrepancies. If someone comes up and they're not in our system, I try to find out why are they not registered to vote, what's going on with that and how to handle that. Sometimes it may go all the way to the clerk to find out what's going on with that. I assist inspectors with provisional and spoil ballots. and I interact with poll watchers and poll challengers. When I close the poll, that's when the fun begins. We print out all these reports off the tabulator, and I have all the election inspectors sign that. I sign that. I close the poll book, and there's certain documents in the poll book that need to go into separate envelopes to the county clerk, to our township clerk, and to the board of canvassers. So I make sure that's all taken care of. Let me see. That's about it. I left out a lot of details, but that's kind of just a broad outline of what I did.
I do know that the biggest responsibility of the clerk is the elections. So we have to be sure and precise on who we're putting in that role. It is a big responsibility and lots of, stress on that person, so.
Sure.
Thank you for your help, thanks.
Any other questions?
Yeah, just one.
Yes.
There was a lot of concern in the 2020 election about the integrity of election results. What will you do in this position to ensure the voters in Tyrone Township have a fair election?
Well, I think the most important thing is being transparent and explaining to voters. During that election cycle, I had several voters that came that were sent to me by my election inspectors that did have concerns, and I found that when I just explained the whole process, each step by step, there were no more concerns. So I'll continue that, of course.
One other thing with the other applicants. Jeffrey, you mentioned how important the clerk is with elections. Did any of the other applicants have any previous election experience?
No, they did not.
Okay. I make a motion to accept. Yeah.
There'll be a resolution.
Resolution, okay.
Support.
We have a resolution and support to appoint Pam Mueller as clerk. Any further discussion? May I have a roll call vote, please?
Sure, Kurt Schultz,
Yes.
Herman Ferguson,
Yes.
Zach Tucker,
Yes.
Mike Cunningham,
Yes.
Jennifer Eden, yes, and Marcy and David are absent.
Welcome. We'll be in touch with you, and thank you for those that applied. It's nice meeting you all. The accountant contract is item number 5. Our accountant is wanting to move to a contract. One meeting, please. Which actually, it will end up costing us less per year. He was working part-time, and he works from home because of COVID a lot. He has done an exceptional job for us. So he's wanting to do it for a rate of $100 an hour. The time that he puts in is not that much because he's the one that got everything organized in good shape. It'll probably end up, like I said, costing us less this year. Our auditors have been pleased with the work that he's done, and I got nothing but great things to say about him, and I think it's a great idea that we keep him on staff, and that, he's starting his own firm, so that's why he's going to do us as an independent contractor.
He was a part-time employee before?
Yeah, he was a part-time employee, and he kept, short office hours. He was here Monday for a little bit, Tuesday for a little bit, then when COVID hit, he was working remotely.
But still did a phenomenal job.
Did an outstanding job.
In little time.
Just 2 quick questions. One, this is an open-ended contract, correct? With a 30-day.
Yes,
Correct.
that either party can.
And his rate is $100 per hour, so if he wants to increase his rate, do we get a new contract?
Yeah, he would have to.
So I would move approval.
That's support.
It's been motioned and supported to approve the contract for our accountant. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries. Next is the Lake Shannon firework display permit. In a little bit early this year, so that's okay, they do it every year. The fire chief has written off on it. Everything that they need is in order. If there's any other questions I'll answer them, or I'll entertain the motion.
The letter references contingencies. Do we make it subject to those contingencies, or are those contingencies been satisfied?
We don't put any contingencies on them.
It was the fire inspector's letter.
Yeah, the fire inspector, what was his contingency? He asked for them to carry, what was it? But it's not necessary, but still, I can't remember exactly what it was.
He listed, looks like 7 things. NFPA 1123 is followed. Some of that doesn't.
Yeah, that has to do with the technician, so.
No one allowed within 200 yards,
Yeah,
which they always do.
do.
There's no smoking,
Yeah,
whoever is lighting them up.
yeah, that'd be good.
And this may not begin until persons are clear.
And they've always met those contingencies.
I make a motion to approve the application.
I'll support.
Been motioned and supported to approve the Lake Shannon fireworks display permit. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? The motion carries. Moving on to item number 7, the poverty exemption guidelines resolution. We're required to pass this every year. It's a state law.
So resolved.
Support.
It's been motioned and supported to, no, it's not a motion, it's a
It's a
resolution.
resolution. They say it's so
Okay.
resolved.
It's been resolved and supported to approve the poverty exemption guidelines resolution. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Kurt Schultz,
Yes.
Herman Ferguson,
Yes.
Zach Tucker,
Yes.
Mike Cunningham,
Yes.
Jennifer Eden, yes. Marcy and David, absent.
And that resolution passes. Next is resolution to opt out of Senate Bill health insurance provision for the fiscal year. That was a law that required people to pay a portion of their health insurance, and we decided we would opt out of that. We've done it every year. We don't have any retirement fund, but we pay the insurance.
So resolved.
Support.
It's been resolved and supported to opt out of Senate Bill number 7, health insurance provision for the fiscal year. Any further discussion? May I have a roll call vote, please?
Kurt Schultz,
Yes.
Herman Ferguson,
Yes.
Zach Tucker,
Yes.
Mike Cunningham,
Yes.
Jennifer Eden, yes. Marcy and David, absent.
And that resolution passes. Moving on to item number 9, resolution to establish the trustee's salary.
So resolved.
Support.
Been resolved and supported to approve the trustee's salary for 22-23. All in favor signify, I'm sorry, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Kurt Schultz,
Yes.
Herman Ferguson,
Yes.
Zach Tucker,
Yes.
Mike Cunningham,
Yes.
Jennifer Eden, yes. Marcy and David, absent.
That resolution passes. Next is resolution to approve the clerk's salary. That amount is for $49,340.
So resolved.
Support.
Been resolved and supported to approve the clerk's salary for 2022-23. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Kurt Schultz,
Yes.
Herman Ferguson,
Yes.
Zach Tucker,
Yes.
Mike Cunningham,
Yes.
Jennifer Eden, yes. Marcy and David, absent.
Moving on to business number 11, resolution to establish the 2022-23 treasurer's salary, same amount, $49,340.
So resolved.
Support.
Been resolved and supported to approve the treasurer's salary. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Kurt Schultz,
Yes.
Herman Ferguson,
Yes.
Zach Tucker,
Yes.
Mike Cunningham,
Yes.
Jennifer Eden, I say yes. Marcy and David absent.
And that resolution passes. Item number 12, resolution to establish the 2023 supervisor's salary. Same amount, $49,340.
So resolved.
Support.
It's been resolved and supported to approve the supervisor's salary. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Kurt Schultz,
Yes.
Herman Ferguson,
Yes.
Zach Tucker,
Yes.
Mike Cunningham,
Yes.
Jennifer Eden, yes. Marcy and David absent.
Miscellaneous business, we have none. And public remark. Anybody have any public comments? Yes.
My name is Preston Daniel English. I live off Foley Road. As I'm sure you know, as many of the folks on here, I was one of the applicants to fill the position, the vacant position for clerk. We had a nice discussion last Wednesday. And I was under the understanding that we were supposed to have a public interview. That's the process for appointing a clerk. I find it rather disappointing that, and first let me clarify, that I'm not at all saying that you're not qualified. I do believe you are. But I find it rather disappointing that the other three applicants had never given a chance to explain their qualifications. I don't know why it appears that a choice was made in secret with no public transparency. A choice that I frankly found out about yesterday. And I think you'll be hearing more from me going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, while you're here, did you want to explain the law and how that was done? And
I'll be glad to. We are bound by state statute on how we fill vacancies. The law provides that we have 45 days to fill a vacancy, and the vacancy must be filled by a vote of the board at a public meeting. That's what we have to follow. We can, because the law doesn't restrict us or say we have to, we can have a committee look through applications and decide whether or not these individuals meet what they believe are minimum qualifications, or whether or not a particular candidate has the expertise and experience in a certain area that is of need of the township. The township has a policy. The township followed that policy. It allowed the supervisor to take an initial look at the applications and then make a recommendation to the board. Nothing in secret happened. The only way that an appointment to fill a vacancy can occur is by the vote of the board. And the vote of the board occurred today with questions being asked of the applicant that was before us based on the recommendation to answer those questions. If we have public interviews, there's potential for embarrassment, harassment, something that we can avoid.
You can try it, man. I don't, you just need to ask me what my qualifications are. That is my point of contention. You can ask me anything. My life is public. I got stuff out there in my past. I got stuff out there wherever. Look it up, dig it up,
they
bring it
submitted
out.
applications and we reviewed.
Bring it out here.
I recommended to the board that they handle the matter the way they did. They followed the law, and it was open to the public to see the vote based on a recommendation.
The way it was handled was quite dirty, I find.
Sorry you didn't get selected. Yes.
Okay. How many hours did we pay that accountant last year, you know, offhand?
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look.
You have an estimate? Well, I already asked you for all the amounts and stuff, so hope you guys, I'll drop it in the office. And as to the gentleman's comment, I remember another person in this room that was appointed, and I stand up, he came up and introduced himself to the people in the audience, and I stood up and gave them a good review for his being a neighbor and a businessman. It was done when you took over. I know, but that's how it was handled then. It's not handled the same way this time. Understand what I'm saying? Don was appointed, he got to speak to the audience, and people that were running for office. He had people here talking and, giving their opinion of the person. It wasn't handled that way this time. Sorry, the gentleman's right. Can you guys do me a favor? Could you guys join Social Security and give me a 3% increase every year on my Social Security? God, I would love it. I would love it. Cost of living. I know a lot of people are hurting right now. Some people make a lot of money. But we're not back on our feet from this, and I know my taxes went up. I know everybody else's did. I do know that there's a crap load of houses coming into this county. And it's like a pie. It's this big. And you've got to cut it up in pieces, how many people you got in it. You just keep adding those people, those slices. That's more revenue coming in. Don hit on that earlier. So that's more people to pay the cost of fixing roads than there were before. Then you get an increase. The increases always seem to go to get our leaders more money in their pocket. And I'm sorry to say that, but it just seems like every time we just keep paying more and it goes to someone's pocket. I don't mind paying someone for fair day's wages, but we're not getting nothing done. And that's across the board. It ain't just one party. It's across the board. We can do that if we have. But I'd like to see the roads are terrible. And it just isn't one party's fault. Going on for a long time. Michigan we just keep pushing the thing down the road. And we just keep paying more. But there's always someone there getting the money. And it ain't just you. It's the corporate, it's the companies, it's this, it's that, but we just keep paying more. And it's sad. And I know there's a lot of people out there hurting right now. There's a lot, and I said again, there's too many people making too much money. And it's okay for them to make that money. If they think they deserve it, that's fine. But it's on the back of a lot of people doing a lot of hard work too. So, but it's just, and I want to bring it up. Don said something about the village. It's okay, we're going to fix the roads. But not everybody does use the road equally. A business will use that road a lot more than a resident. It's like someone coming in the neighborhood putting a wedding barn in. They're going to have a lot more traffic on that road. So it isn't equal.
Thank you. Anyone else have a comment?
My name is Linda Schulbeck. I live on the Sons Court. I've been listening to the increase of money. Every time you got to raise our trucks cost more. Every time you go out for a meeting with a business owner or a complex that's wants to increase their area, that's more than 30 hours a week. I held public office for 8 years, and at the meetings was probably not even a tenth of the time I spent doing what I had to do in order to know what I was talking about when I got to those meetings. The sheriff is here tonight. I'm sure he's on a clock too, his own clock. He spends more time outside than he does at the meeting. We all do that as public employees. Just so you understand, I'm not going to get a conversation going, but I just know that each and every one of you sitting at this board tonight, this is the only place you do business. When you come into the office, it's not the only place you take care of business. As an attorney, you have an awful lot of work to do before you even get here to tell us how we have to do our business. So if they get a cost of living increase, that's minimal in what they're expected to do. And if they don't do it right, you have that option in November to replace them, or they have the option to say, I'm not gonna do that anymore. I want to spend more time with my family. We're all going through that with the ace quarterback right now. He wants to spend more time with his family. He might change his mind come July, but at the same time, you're not always paid for the time you put in. And I just wanted to let you all know that I appreciate the time you take to help us understand what you're doing as a township board. And I appreciate that for one person, because I know what it takes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did she give her name like I did?
She didn't.
Okay. Did she tell you who she was?
Yeah, sure,
Your
but
mother-in-law?
I'm the son's court.
Your mother-in-law, or your girlfriend's mother.
Doesn't matter.
What
Who I am.
Stop harassing her.
Yeah, Rick, she was.
Scott, this is not a forum for you to harass other
You
residents.
tell everybody else not to point their directions at the audience. You allowed her to do it to me. You allowed her to do it to me, and I'm gonna get back. I get a response to her.
Just now.
You did, you allowed her, she looked right at me and gave a response. You threw that woman out of a meeting for blurting out something one night. They blurted out tonight. You didn't throw it wide because they're relatives or girlfriend. No, Mike, you let them get away with it too much.
Enough.
Do it equally, Mike.
Go ahead.
Brett Hammond, live on Old Forest Road. Back to the roads and everything being, they're bad. I came up Center Road, it was bad. Looking at the millage rates and everything, Tyrone Townships we get like 0.8625, you said earlier. Yeah, we're paying like 2.7274 to Mock Community College. If we were to, get this on the ballot initiative, we can get that off there, we could free up $875,000.
Yep.
I've been doing a lot of research and getting a lot of numbers. I don't have them all. A couple things happened. I was hoping to have more numbers, but it's wrong the way that they're taxing us. If you look at it, how much we're paying per active student, I think we're paying somewhere around $9,700. Don't quote me on that, per person that's going. Fenton, it's Lake Fenton, it's Fenton Township.
Yes.
They're paying like $22,000 per person. I mean, it's super inflated, I know it's been there forever, but that never makes it right. It's just we have problems in our own township here that we need to take care of. And at this point, we're cheaper off if anybody's got any kids that want to go to the college, say, hey, we're gonna send you, it's cheaper to pick up the tab for the credit hours. And we don't get a break on it. I was talking to Debbie up at Fenton, she said that they have property in Oakland County and they get, I think, $50 off a credit hour by being a taxpayer, in the area, in the township or in the school district. But, I was hoping to have a lot more numbers for you guys tonight. I got a lot in there. They're ridiculous. But I just found out when I called up and talked to Larry again up at Mott and asked him if I could get, how much they were getting in tax money. They don't have that. They don't know how much they receive. They don't know what zip codes. He said, well, go on Google and look up all the school districts. And there's like 13, and within each one of them, there's going to be, the village of, the township of, and the city of. So I got a lot of work to do. But, between us and Linden, we're paying $5.2 million to a for-profit school. It's ridiculous. That's just us. That's Tyrone Township, City of Fenton, Fenton Township and Linden, and we also pay at Linden as well. So hopefully we can do that and maybe get some more people involved and get this on the ballot initiative and, take that money and use it where we can use it. If we had that money, we wouldn't be worried about if you guys get a 5% raise. We wouldn't worry about the roads. I mean, at some point, you just buy your own equipment, put a garage up over here and hire some people to drive the road grader or fill the potholes. You know, until we become self-sufficient, it's never gonna be good. That's all I gotta say.
Thanks, Rick.
All right, guys, thanks.
Anyone else? Yep.
Jeanette Rapetta for Fuller Drive, and I also represent a group called Tyrone Township Watch. Is Marcy, she's still the clerk?
Till the 15th.
Till the 15th? Okay. I asked her if she was going to be here. She said yes. So she's not here. I'm going to read this anyway, because I'm sure she'll watch the video at some point. So these are directed specifically to the clerk, Marcy, and I'm just going to read it as if she's here. First, I wish you well as you leave office. According to the newspaper article, you'll be traveling and enjoying time with your family. It sounds like an early retirement, so congratulations. As you leave, Marcy, I'd like you to consider the legacy you leave behind. You've been the clerk for several years, and I believe the speech you made during a public board meeting last summer on July 20th was one of a kind. Am I right? For those who didn't hear her speech, you can find the video on the township's website. As a reminder, for those who aren't aware of this issue, I will briefly explain, and I'm going to explain it because I've brought it up before and it's never been dealt with. Marcy made the speech on July 20th at the board meeting just before public comment time. The supervisor never stopped her. In fact, he hung his head down and allowed her to proceed. Marcy used her elected position of power to attack me. I was at the meeting, and to also attack another resident, Sarah Dolman Jersey. She was not at the meeting. Marcy, you called us both deceitful. You said we are filled with hate and bitterness. You accused us of spending thousands of dollars on attorney fees. And I ask, since when does a private resident's spending habits become any of the board's business? That's just a few of the horrible and untrue things that were said. I've asked you to apologize several times, to retract those things, but you refused. You caused people to doubt my character, and everything you stated was absolutely untrue. What I'm asking of you, Marcy, is this, that you make a public statement that things you said were untrue, and that you apologize for the personal and wrongful attack. Now, people should also understand that the responsibility for this issue is twofold. Yes, Marcy made the speech, but the supervisor allowed it to go forth. He has never condemned this act. Basically, he has given the go-ahead to all board members. If you want to attack the private resident, go ahead. You can do it anytime you want, and it doesn't matter if you spew lies. Here's the thing. People who know me personally know that I'm an honest and good person. But there are many who don't know me, and you both caused them to doubt my character. And here's my final point. If this can happen to me, and if I can be attacked in this way, then it can happen to absolutely anybody else in this township, and that's not right. I started the watch group, and part of its mission is to hold our appointed and elected officials accountable on behalf of all residents, and that's what I intend to keep doing. And again, to Marcy, I wish you the best in your retirement. I really hope you'll leave on a good note by doing the right thing. Acknowledge that what you said was untrue, and issue an apology. And I have one comment on the job description for clerk. I shared it with many people. I don't remember seeing an emphasis, the strong emphasis that you put on the election experience. I will reread it again. Also, I asked for that job description many, many times, and you were on the email, Mr. Cunningham, and I was told that there are no job descriptions and are no roles and responsibilities, and I was told I could not get the information, but all of a sudden, it was a big long list like this. So to Scott's point, I also would like to see what the roles and responsibilities are, and I do see a couple people rolling their eyes, and that's okay. I'm just going to remind everybody, you guys work for us. We pay your salary. I appreciate what you do, but I also want transparency. Again, it's the information that we want to have. It sometimes seems like it's hidden and very hard to get. Thank you.
Any big comments? Yes.
Anybody else?
Somebody else have a comment? No, Casey, Bob?
Yeah. Since the discussion has come up on taxes and everything, I didn't run the bills. I came right from Lansing to here, so we had a late session tonight, but I wanted to let you know that today we passed House Bill 5054. You can look this up. It's regarding pensions. If your unfunded liability is, do you have pensions here?
We do not.
Like the county has an unfunded liability, they're about 75% land pension. There's a lot of communities that are underfunded by 60% or more. So I don't sit on appropriations, but Representative Albert and Representative Paul with the Senate worked out a deal with the pension. I think it was $900 million that they voted to the cities, townships, municipalities to pay down their unfunded liability. So I was going to tell you if you had a retirement, but I wanted everybody else to know that Senate Bill 768, and the Senate passed it and we passed it. It's called the governor's desk, that the personal income tax will go from 425 down to 0.39, where it was in 2007. It's promised the voters that we would.
Pension tax,
Well, the pension is, no, it's income tax. Your income tax.
State income tax.
State income tax, right. So if anybody wants to look those two bills up, if you have any questions, please call me. I wish I had brought them, with.
So it's gone to the governor?
Yeah, they both passed out the
Has
Senate
there been
House.
any indication on whether she's gonna sign that or not?
We don't know. If you remember the State of the State address, she said that public employees, remember when Snyder taxed public safety, basically started taxing their retirement, he made it retroactive. There was a lot of hard feelings about that. But what they're doing now for senior citizens, on your retirement system, your first $40,000 is tax-free. If you file jointly, it's $80,000. The age has gone from 67 down to 62 as part of the bill. So look these two bills up, and if anybody has any question, it's House Bill 5054 and then Senate Bill 768.
5054 and 768?
Senate Bill 768. It went back and forth, and we finally agreed with the Senate. There's also $750 million in for child care. So that was a Senate issue that we agreed with. So it's a pretty good plan, and we're very hopeful that the governor will sign it. Because she said it was a priority in the state of the state, so we've been working on that since then.
Good.
Any questions at all, give us a call.
All right, thank you, appreciate it. Hey, Bob, when does the district shift? When will we shift to Mueller?
January 1st.
January 1st, okay, thank you.
Yeah, my condolences.
You hired him.
Yeah, deputy, so don't go back and tell her.
Right. If I recall, didn't you hire him once?
I did hire him.
Sure.
I was talking with my daughter today, and I was going to hire her in my business, and she said, "Why should I come to work for $15 an hour when I can go to Culver's and make $22 an hour?" If you do that 32 hours, that's $35,000 a year. So Culver's flipping burgers for $22 an hour.
Thank you.
So I look at what we're getting in a treasurer that runs millions and a supervisor that's done a great job. I've known him for quite a few years. And a lot of times I came and talked to Mike many times earlier on a Friday and wanted to get with him. And he was meeting with people on Fridays. So he does work a lot more than 32 hours a week or 30. But even if he did only work 32 hours a week, for $14,340 a year more, I think we're getting a very good value. That's my personal opinion. And if we're not, and if you want to, take his job. Take it. I mean, if you can do the job that Jennifer's doing or what Marcy did, and does she owe an apology? That'd be great. But that's up to her. But I think they've done a wonderful job in comparing what they're making. And I was on the committee to see what Mike made and everybody else. And they were compared to all the others. I was with a judge, a former lieutenant in the state police, and other business owners. And thank God they stayed here. Because our township was a mess before he came here. Go back and look at it.
When you compare townships, have you done that?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
We did. We were there for 5 months, and we compared every township in the county. What the same hours they were working, and you can look too, Jeanette, and go look and see where it is in alignment. But that's what we did, and go back years before and see what they were making. And thank God, I wouldn't have taken that job for that. To do what he does and to put up with this nonsense? No, I wouldn't. No, it can be. Sometimes it can get out of hand.
Sure.
It can. And like I said, if you want his job and if it's worth it for $49,340 a year, take it. Thank you.
Since that said me, I want to respond here.
You've had your 3 minutes. Ma'am in the back.
I just want to say, first of all, please don't call that nonsense, because all the people in this room have a dog in this fight.
Yep.
And we know you work hard, Mike, I don't think anybody's discounting that.
That's right.
However, you are talking about 2 years of people going through hell through a pandemic, or supposed pandemic, so the situation is a little different than what you would consider normal life. So I can appreciate what you're saying, but I just don't think you should discount him like that.
Well,
Nobody's discounting what you guys are doing, but just don't discount, the feelings of the room.
it seems to be discounted when you look at somebody that works at Culver's for $35,000 a year.
You guys should go there.
I'd like to know somebody's making $22 an hour.
They are.
Really?
All right.
We can show me.
All right, this is getting out of hand.
Manager, maybe?
What do you call that public comment? It's not in our heart. Anybody on Zoom?
Herm, which one? Not in your house. I know both guys.
Oh, yep, my dog will
talk to
Hold
them.
hold
Hold on, guys.
Please, people, I'd like to hear what she has to say.
Carrie Gallagher, Hogan Road.
Thank you.
It's off topic, I don't think it's on your agenda, this is my first board meeting, nice to see some faces, I kind of recognize him. But, I'm wondering if there's any time in the upcoming meeting, and I'm trying to get a little bit more involved, any meetings regarding Hogan Road, the gravel trains, the road, the safety, anything on that. I know that for me, we've been there not that long, and I just feel like it's getting worse and worse, it's louder. We have an old farmhouse built in the 1920s, and it is close to the road. But when we bought the house, you buy a house with acreage, and I wasn't planning on talking tonight, so this is just all off the top. But deal with dirt, dust, everything like that, because you want to be out in the country. I mean, you don't want it to be part of an industrial thing. I don't think his business should be shut down. Everybody has a right to make money, but I feel like, I don't know if this is on your agenda, I'm just curious.
It's been a truck route since
2004.
2004.
2004.
2004, yeah. And the gravel pit opened up a few years back. And the route is established by the road commission. And it's the straight shot, straight down. And we looked at alternate routes, and some of them are paved, and they can't handle the weight from the
Center
truck.
road.
Yeah. center road.
Well, I'm just thinking that there's a different way, or even give a break. Do 6 months this year, 6 months last year. There was a lot of tree work done on our road last year, widening it and making it safe. I know that the people on Linden Road, I don't know if the sheriff knows, but they're saying that it's mismarked. I don't know, but it's 55.
Yeah, and that's
one
of the big issues, and I've talked to Bob Pizzat about it, is speed limit control. We don't have it. The road commission doesn't have the speed limit control. It's actually ran by the state police.
Right.
I don't see.
They said that it was actually mismarked.
Yeah.
I just give some questions, and I don't think this is the time. The bridge.
Right.
The bridge, there's a weight limit.
No, there's not a weight limit for, it's not being exceeded, I know that. I don't know what the actual weight limit is on it, but.
Okay. Do they have to abide by the frost laws? Like
Yeah, they do. So, but it doesn't mean just because frost laws are on that they can't.
Right, just small.
Right, they have to do small.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I understand that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and I know like with our property, a gravel truck went way up, like past our driveway. I know Kevin was in here, I don't know who we talked to, brought some videos. It's a little bit crazy when it sounds like a thunderstorm in your house, inside your
Right.
house. I mean, I was like,
in the heck? It's making it an awful place to live, yet your taxes are going up. It's undesirable.
Yeah, and you probably had a lot this last couple weeks as everybody's trying to get in before the frost laws. Trying to get their
No,
bills in.
COVID, I seriously, it was terrible.
Yeah.
You guys did do a great job. You put the sign in, you made them, they had to come down at 7, and I appreciate that. But it's like 7 days a week, and I'm not home very often, but during COVID, I was like ready to just, I just wanted to abandon. And it's, I don't know, I just feel like it needs to be something that's talked about. I don't know if you want us to get a petition to show that there's a lot more people that want this talked about, or, I mean, I know there's been talk about
We've
paving
talked with
it.
the road commission and the sheriff's department. We've had long conversations
Yes,
about that.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Helena
Were you,
Merced.
first of all, were you done?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we are.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. I just wanted to make sure.
Helena
that-
Merced, I live
Sure.
on Hogan Road.
Yeah.
And absolutely, I would, that's my suggestion, then maybe we can amend it, because it was done in 2004, and maybe we can do amendment on it, and just not let them go. I mean, Mr. Francis, it's okay, he's making money and this, but they can go on Linden Road South or on Argentine, not on Hogan Road.
Or give us a break. I mean, 6 months there, 6 months here, but if
That
that's
is
just Sunday's the only day.
Yes.
that-
Well, we looked at Linden Road, and the road commission said absolutely not, because
It's paved.
it is paved, but the way that it's paved, it can't handle the weight. There's only like 2 inches of asphalt there, and it would just tear that road up.
Is that north of Hogan or?
That would be the south,
So
to the south.
But how about Argentine, they can take it? The only probably people will
Yeah.
benefit from it.
Sure,
it's-
I would be more than glad to get a meeting, with the road commission and some residents again and go over it.
And I know we talked about it last year, I had another neighbor with the road commission in March too, last year. And
Yeah.
we talked about it, I don't know if you remember, and we discussed it because, and it's worse and worse now, so we just.
I mean, it's undesirable, and I just, you know.
Oh, I could imagine,
Yeah,
I'm with, I hear you.
We are just fed up with that, so, but.
And I think
not
there's a
every-
lot of them
I
on the road,
apologize,
and
we don't
if anybody
know,
bought a
but
house there.
it's really,
Right.
sorry, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Yeah.
And I mean, the guy, he called me that owned it, and he's like, oh, call me, don't call the township. I don't wanna talk to him, and I want him to have a business, but
Right.
I just think maybe even 7 AM is a little bit early.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
she's up here, we just talked to Mike Mueller about this recently.
Yes.
And past legislators have tried to pass local control, where local control townships or municipalities can change speed limits based on what's going on in your county. It's been shut down for like the last 6 legislatures sessions. So as sheriff, I try to get the speed limit changed from 45, it's 55, it's coming down, going by the high school, now you get all those neighborhoods there. And the state police shot that down. We had a couple of fatalities there. And then the other one we worked on was over in Osceola Township. We had a couple of fatalities there at Golf Club at 59. So the state police shot that one down. Not to pick on the state police, but you gotta have so many driveways with it, so many feet. They have a formula. If you don't meet the formula, they won't let you reduce the speed limit.
Yeah.
Because it causes other issues like rear-end accidents and some of those things. So.
I've seen witness 2 rollovers. It's crazy.
People have a
I have a
tendency to
video of
drive,
then another car.
drive
passing a
excessive out here.
semi.
They do. We get a lot of rollovers here.
We've got some requests from Hartman Township to look into this as well.
So how to find out when that is, did you guys alert people, or is it just on
I
your?
promise not to get up again.
Just send me an email. It's gonna be a few weeks before I can get something. Send me an email and I'll.
Even if it's a couple months.
Yeah,
Just
I'll
doing
get,
some serious dedication to
I'll get
it.
some people together and maybe, Bazat, Robert Bazat might be able to join us in that meeting too, so.
I wouldn't mind doing that, like.
Yeah, the speed limit thing is a big issue, and I just don't see, nothing against the state police, they do a wonderful job, they got a lot to do, but I don't feel that they should be the legislative authority of speed limits in local municipalities. I think the proper form for that is the road commission with local input.
I mean, we bought the house, we had to transfer from a septic field to a sewer. That's
Yeah.
costly. It's $25,000. And Kevin's a contractor,
couldn't do it, we had to use, the
Right.
special contractors. So I'm just saying, I feel like as law-abiding citizens paying and, paying our taxes on time and stuff, that I just wish somebody would take a look out there, because it's really not that great living out there anymore. Like, I don't even want to have get-togethers. I mean, we bought the house with intentions of having our family over, and it's just like dirt, dust, noise. I mean, it's terrible.
Yeah, that's the roads, they're all like that.
No, not the gravel trains. That sounds like
I live on
a
Heartland
storm.
Road, trust me, my trees are the same color as yours. Yeah, I have to dust out my.
It's not bad, I don't even care.
It's not the shake, it's the
Power wash
dust,
off,
yeah.
It's the shaking, it sounded
Yeah.
like a thunderstorm. Or don't raise our taxes out there. I mean, the living conditions are getting worse and worse.
Can't raise your taxes, they're actually quite low.
No, I don't care if they're just doing raise, it's just like some issue.
Yeah, I
Some
understand.
attention given to that.
Okay, yes, send me an email and I'll get with you and we'll get something together and see, get a meeting of minds and see what we can do. All right, nothing on Zoom?
No.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to.
Support.
Motion and supported to adjourn, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carried, meeting's adjourned. Actually, I think they're gonna have to, they're just gonna get, they're gonna have to do, I got some sort of, yeah, I think I have my group sessions, together and shit, that's not.
I didn't know it was you. I didn't know. How's it doing? Here's one in my hand.